my experience, welcome home banners are warning flares. I should have known something was off when Lana insisted on stringing one across our front porch like a suburban lifestyle guru. My wife, Dr. Lana Mercer, infectious disease specialist and apparent expert in bringing home more than medical knowledge from her 3-month humanitarian mission in West Africa. I am Jack Mercer, 41, ex-Marine turned hospital IT security chief. I fix networks, watch camera feeds, and sometimes chase down fools who think stealing medical equipment is a career strategy. It is honest work that pays the mortgage and keeps me close enough to Brookfield General to grab lunch with my wife between her saving lives and my preventing digital catastrophes. Or, at least, that was the routine. The banner snapped in the October wind as I pulled into our driveway with grocery bags for Lana's welcome home dinner. Our 15-year-old daughter, Kira, had inherited her mother's sharp tongue and my suspicious streak. She blocked the doorway with crossed arms. "Dad, Mom looks awful. Like really awful. She just spent 3 months in rural Liberia treating Ebola patients. Cut her some slack, kiddo." Theo, our 13-year-old, hovered behind his sister with a Nintendo Switch like a shield. She has been throwing up all morning, and she keeps checking her phone every 5 seconds. Kids miss nothing. It is a blessing and a curse. I found Lana in our bedroom on the edge of the bed, with her head in her hands. Even sick, she was beautiful. Chestnut hair in a messy bun, green eyes that could halt traffic, and the kind of smile that had convinced me to propose after 6 months. Today she looked like a textbook had fallen on her. Hey, gorgeous. Rough flight. She looked up, and for a heartbeat, I saw something I had never seen in her eyes. Fear. Guilt. Before I could process it, she pressed her face into my chest and sobbed. "Jack, I need to tell you something. I think I was exposed to something in Liberia. I am having symptoms." A cold prickle slid down my spine. Ebola, Marburg, a dozen other fevers that end you fast. What kind of symptoms? Fever, nausea, fatigue. And she pulled back, gaze sliding away. Some other things. "I need to go to the hospital tonight." I called in every favor to get Lana seen immediately at Brookfield General. Dr. Elaine Porter, head of emergency medicine, and one of Lana's closest colleagues took over. Within an hour, Lana was in isolation while they ran a battery of tests. "Jack, try not to panic," Dr. Porter said, catching me pacing in the family waiting area. Her symptoms could be anything. Stress, exhaustion, a simple virus. Doctors do not isolate simple viruses. I spent the night in that room with terrible coffee and a news channel looping the same 3 stories. Kira and Theo stayed with my sister, probably wondering if their mother was about to die from an exotic disease. At 6 in the morning, Dr. Porter found me again. Her expression was unreadable. "Jack, we need to talk privately." She led me to a consultation room that smelled like disinfectant and broken hopes. The kind of room where lives tilt. The good news is Lana does not have Ebola or any hemorrhagic fever. The bad news is more complicated. How complicated? She has chlamydia and gonorrhea. The words hit like a fist. For a moment, I could not process them. Then reality slammed down like a collapsing wall. That is impossible. We have been faithful. I have been faithful. Dr. Porter's expression was professionally sympathetic. "Jack, I am sorry. The tests are definitive. These infections were transmitted through intimate contact. My wife of 16 years, mother of my children, had cheated on me while supposedly saving lives in Africa. She had been busy detonating our marriage. How long has she had them? Based on the progression, I would say she was infected within the last 2 to 3 months. Right around the time she left for Liberia, or after she got there. Maybe she never even went." I stared at a motivational poster. "Every day is a new beginning." It felt like a joke. When I finally stood, I felt older and meaner, like someone had reached into my chest and rewired the parts. I needed answers, and I knew who to call. Cal Van Rourke looked exactly like what he was, an ex-cop turned private investigator who had seen too much and drank too little coffee to pretend otherwise. His office above Turner's Tavern smelled like cigarettes and stained carpet. He had a reputation for finding truth in places other people avoided. So, your wife brought back more than malaria pills from her grand adventure, Rourke said, lighting his fourth cigarette while I talked. You want who, what, when, and where. I want everything. Every detail. Every lie. That will cost you. Truth usually does. I slid an envelope across his desk. There is 5,000. Find me the truth, and there is 5,000 more. Rourke counted the bills and smiled. Jack, you just bought a front row seat to the worst show in town. While Rourke started digging, I had to hold the house together. Lana was on antibiotics and would be released in a few days. The kids thought she had some treatable but exotic bug. I let that stand. Pretending normal was the hardest part. I went to work, watched camera feeds, resolved network outages, and nodded at colleagues who offered careful sympathy, meant for family of a patient, not a husband poisoned by a different kind of infection. 3 days later, Rourke called. Jack, get to my office and bring something strong. I found him surrounded by photos, printouts, and a nest of surveillance gear. His face was grim. Your wife never made it to Liberia. What do you mean? I mean, Dr. Lana Mercer spent exactly 0 days treating patients in West Africa. She spent 3 months in Redwood Bay, Washington, shacked up with Dr. Colin Abrams from cardiology. I knew Abrams. Handsome, arrogant, married with 2 kids. The kind of doctor who wore custom suits and drove a BMW like it was a stethoscope. How do you know? Rourke slid a stack of photographs across the desk. Hotel receipts, restaurant bills, and images that turned my stomach. Lana and Colin at candlelit tables. Lana and Colin entering hotel rooms. Lana and Colin doing things that do not require a medical license. There is more, Rourke said. Your wife was not just having an affair. She was part of something larger. He showed me text logs, social media captures, and financial records. Lana had joined a group of medical professionals who advertised continuing education retreats. In reality, they were elaborate love parties for doctors, nurses, and allied staff. The whole enterprise was organized by Dr. Serena Pike from psychiatry. She has been running these events for 2 years, recruiting married professionals chasing excitement. Your wife signed on about 4 months ago. I knew Pike too. Mid-30s, blonde, with a predatory smile that made smart men act dumb. She specialized in relationship counseling and catered to Brookfield's medical elite. So Lana did not just cheat. She joined a cheating club. It gets better or worse, depending on perspective. The group keeps records, photos, videos, and financial arrangements, insurance if you will. Rourke handed me a flash drive. Everything is on there. Names, dates, locations, the money, how many people are involved. 43 medical professionals from 5 hospitals, including names that would make front-page news. I pocketed the drive. You earned your bonus. What are you going to do? Diagnose and treat. That evening, I sat in my home office while Lana slept off her antibiotics upstairs, and the kids watched streaming shows in the living room. I opened the flash drive. What I found made my skin crawl. Lana had not just cheated, she had documented it. Hotel room photos, screenshots of messages with other participants, and records showing she had spent over 8,000 of our money on her so-called professional development. Worst were her messages to Colin and others. She wrote about me like I was a boring obstacle to her freedom. Jack is predictable. Military guys are all the same. No imagination. No imagination. We would see about that. I spent 2 hours building a dossier. Names, faces, positions, financial trails, and enough photographs to wreck careers and marriages across the medical community. Then I started making calls. Julia Abrams answered on the 3rd ring. I had met Colin's wife at hospital events. Quiet, observant, the kind of woman who noticed everything and said little. Perfect for what I had in mind. Julia, this is Jack Mercer, Lana's husband. We need to talk about our spouses. Silence. Then, I was wondering when you would call. We met at Maple Creek Park the next morning. Julia brought coffee and a manila folder thick enough to choke a horse. She looked exhausted but steady, like someone preparing for war. How long have you known? 6 months. Colin got sloppy with his passwords. She opened her folder and showed me printouts that made Rourke's work look amateur. I have been documenting everything. She had bank statements showing payments to Pike's consulting firm, hotel receipts, credit card statements, and photographs that would make a divorce lawyer weep. Why not confront him? I wanted the full map first, and I hoped it would burn itself out. She stared across the park. I was wrong. We spent 2 hours comparing notes and building a full picture. The retreats were staged at expensive resorts. Participants paid membership fees, sat through workshops on relationship enhancement, and engaged in what the organizers called networking. It is not just intimacy, Julia said. It is power. They thrive on secrecy, the risk, the sense of belonging to something exclusive. How many people know? More than you think. Hospital gossip travels fast when it involves doctors behaving badly. That gave me an idea. Julia, how would you feel about making this public? You mean exposing them? I mean destroying them professionally, socially, financially, making sure every would be left exposed with no place to hide. You mean ruin them publicly? Exactly. Julia smiled for the first time since this began. Jack, I think we can be useful to one another. Over the next week, we put together a campaign that would have made tactical planners proud. Julia handled the financial tracing, following payments to Pike's consulting operation, and documenting the flow of money. I used my hospital access to gather internal schedules, to match names with departments, and to check on possible ethics breaches. Rourke kept digging, pulling more receipts and private messages onto that cursed flash drive. Meanwhile, Lana came home and tried to keep life ordinary. She told the kids elaborate stories about her time abroad, complete with images she had downloaded from charity websites. She cooked my favorite meals, bought me expensive jewelry, and tried to act as if nothing had happened. I pretended to be the devoted husband she had betrayed. The breakthrough came when Julia discovered that Pike was blackmailing some participants. The photos and videos were not just trophies. They were leverage. Pike had been extracting payments from married participants who wanted out or who threatened to expose the operation. Some people had paid her more than $50,000 to keep quiet. Lana alone had paid Pike $2,000 a month for 4 months. $8,000 gone from our savings for college and retirement. That night, I decided it was time to start a war. I began with hospital administration. Dr. Richard Hale, Chief of Staff, was a by-the-book administrator who took ethics seriously. I requested a private meeting and presented a carefully edited selection of the evidence. Hale flipped through the documents, his face cycling through disbelief, anger, and professional alarm. Mr. Mercer, this is extremely serious, he said. If these allegations are accurate, we are looking at potential licensing violations, ethics breaches, and possible criminal exposure. I told him you should know before it becomes public. Public knowledge, I said. This involves more than 40 professionals across multiple hospitals. The story will come out eventually. The question is whether Brookfield General gets ahead of it or gets buried by it. Within 24 hours, the hospital launched an internal inquiry. Within 48 hours, the rumor mill had chewed through the nursing staff, administrative assistants, and maintenance crews. By Friday, everyone at Brookfield General knew something unsavory had been found. They did not know all of it yet, but they knew enough to whisper in corridors and elevator rides. Lana came home that evening looking hollow. Jack, there are rumors, she said, her voice thin. Crazy rumors about an investigation. What kind of rumors? I asked. Something about doctors involved in inappropriate activities, professional misconduct. The administration is being tight-lipped, but people are talking. I looked up from the paper, keeping my face neutral. Sounds like the usual hospital drama. People gossip. But what if it affects me? She said. What if they think I am involved? Honey, you just got back from treating Ebola patients in Africa. How could you be part of hospital gossip? She stared at me for a long moment, and something like recognition flickered across her features. Her lies were starting to crumble. Nick, we need to talk about us, she said finally. Before she could say more, my phone buzzed with a text from Julia. Colin has been suspended pending investigation. It is starting. I smiled at my wife, practicing the blank expression of a man in control. Sorry, what were you saying? The upcoming Brookfield General Gala was scheduled for Saturday. 500 of the city's medical elite gathering at the convention center under glittering lights to celebrate another year of healing and innovation. Normally, we would have attended together. These were not normal times. I do not think we should go, Lana said as I adjusted my tie. With the rumors and the investigation, maybe keeping a low profile is better. Nonsense, I said. You are one of the hospital's most respected doctors. Hiding will only make people assume the worst. The truth was, I wanted her there. I wanted to put this in front of everyone. Tonight would be the night everything came out. Julia and I had spent the week feeding carefully selected morsels of truth to key staff to make sure gossip would be simmering before the gala. We also prepared a presentation no one could ignore. The convention center was awash in Brookfield General Blue and Silver, elegant table settings, and a stage for Dr. Hale's annual address. I spotted Colin Abrams immediately. He looked ill at ease, checking his phone and avoiding eye contact. Dr. Serena Pike was harder to find, but she eventually emerged from a cluster by the bar, perfectly composed and watched by several participants. I moved through the crowd, doing small talk while keeping track of key players. Lana was across the room, speaking with nurses who now looked awkward and distant. At 8, Dr. Hale took the stage. He spoke of professional integrity and the sacred trust between caregivers and the public. The irony was dense enough to cut. This year has reminded us that our profession demands the highest standards of conduct in and out of the hospital, he said. We will be reviewing external educational activities to ensure they meet our standards. We will also be conducting a comprehensive review of any staff members who may have participated in activities that compromise their professional integrity or violate our code of ethics. Murmurs spread through the room, and I stood. I walked to the microphone set aside for audience questions. Dr. Hale looked surprised, but nodded. Thank you, he said. I am Jack Mercer from IT Security. I have a question about the review you mentioned. Will it include staff who have been participating in so-called continuing education retreats that are actually organized gatherings for intimate encounters funded by membership fees and run by Dr. Serena Pike? The silence that followed was thick. 500 people stopped and waited. Dr. Hale's face shifted. Mr. Mercer, this is not the time or the place. Actually, Doctor, I think it is the perfect forum, I said. I have documentation showing that more than 40 staff members from multiple hospitals have been participating in these activities, including financial records, photographs, and evidence of extortion. The room erupted. Phones came out. Everyone recorded. I saw Lana, pale and horrified. I continued, my voice steady now that the dam had burst. I have evidence that some participants, including my wife, Dr. Lana Mercer, have lied about their professional activities. Dr. Mercer claimed to be treating patients in West Africa when she was actually attending these retreats in Redwood Bay. At that point, Colin lunged, face flushed with rage and drink. You have no right, he spat as he shoved through the crowd. I have every right, I said as I stepped down and met him in the aisle. I have the right to expose liars, cheaters, and extortionists. I have the right to protect my children from parents who treat marriage vows like optional guidelines. He swung at me. I was ready. Officers' training and years in uniform took over. I twisted his arm, used his momentum to pin him, and announced to the stunned assembly, meet Dr. Colin Abrams, cardiologist and home wrecker. He has been having an affair with my wife for months, while his wife took care of their children. I released him, and the room tasted of disbelief. Colin stumbled, furious and humiliated. Tessa! People started to call out. But Lana was gone. She shoved through the crowd toward the exit, as if the floor had opened beneath her. Dr. Pike tried to follow, but Julia stepped into her path, calm and terrifying. Dr. Pike, Julia said, addressing her directly so everyone could hear. I believe you have something that belongs to my husband and me. About $50,000, actually. The crowd loved this. Medical professionals love scandal as much as anyone else. Security moved toward us, but Dr. Hale raised his hand to halt them. He took the microphone again and declared the event over. As people filed out, staff hovered to talk to me, some offering quiet thanks, others trading gossip. Patricia Porter pulled me aside. "I had no idea," she said. "Most people did not. That was the point." "What are you going to do now?" she asked. I looked at the dispersing faces and felt the moment of victory taste hollow. Now I am going to finish what I started. The story hit social media before I even left the convention center. Someone had filmed my words and uploaded them. Within hours, the hashtag Brookfield scandal was trending. Local news called it Medgate. National outlets sniffed at the scandal like sharks. By Sunday, the story had national reach. When I got home, I found Lana at the kitchen table, still wearing her gala dress, crying onto her phone. "Jack, please," she begged. "We need to talk about this rationally." "Rationally?" I said. "You want to discuss rational behavior after you lied about treating dying children while screwing a colleague in hotel rooms in Redwood Bay." "It was supposed to be a break," she said. "It was supposed to be a chance to figure things out." "Figure what?" I asked. "How to spend $8,000 from our kids' college fund on membership fees for a love club." She looked genuinely shocked that I knew about the payments. "How do you know about the money?" she murmured. "I know everything. The payments to Pike, the extortion, the photographs, the videos." I slid a folder across the table. "Colin is suspended. Pike is facing criminal charges. You are facing potential loss of license." Lana opened the folder and stared at the evidence. "You hired a private investigator," she said. "I hired professionals," I said. "Something you seem to have forgotten how to do." She looked hollow. "Think about the kids," she pleaded. "I am thinking about the kids," I said. "I am thinking about how they deserve better than a mother who lies about saving children in Africa while she destroys her own family." Kira appeared in the doorway in pajamas, eyes wide. "Dad, what is happening?" We explained as gently as I could. The next hour was the worst of my life. Explaining to a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old that their mother had been lying for months, that their family was ending, and that their private pain would be public was not in any parenting book. Kira took it with furious composure. Theo clutched his game console like a life raft. Will asked blunt questions. "Is Mom really not a hero?" "No, buddy, she's not." "And are you and Mom getting divorced?" "Yes, and the whole town probably knows." Tessa tried to explain, to justify, to minimize. The kids were not stupid. They understood betrayal. By Monday, the story had leapt beyond local news. National outlets ran segments on professional misconduct in healthcare. The hospital was swamped with calls. I took time off work to manage legal filings, media requests, and the chaos of being the man at the center of a public spectacle. Legal proceedings moved quickly. Lana hired a high-priced attorney for high-profile clients. They tried to argue that our evidence was illegally obtained and that exposing the affair constituted emotional distress and defamation. My counsel, Lisa Chang, a meticulous strategist, countered that the evidence came from public records and from participants who had willingly handed over materials and testimony. Nothing had been hacked or stolen. Custody was harder. Lana's lawyers argued she was still a competent mother. My team argued that someone who could lie for months to her children about where she was and who she was helping could not be trusted with their emotional safety. The children made the choice easier. Kira was old enough to choose where to live, and she chose me. Theo followed his sister. Both were angry and hurt and refused to see their mother for a time. Professionally, the fallout was swift. Dr. Pike was arrested for extortion and fraud. Colin lost his position and faced medical board hearings that culminated in disciplinary action. Several participants resigned rather than face public discipline. The state medical boards launched investigations. 3 months after the gala, I sat in my lawyer's office reviewing the final divorce settlement. Lisa slid an envelope to me. It was from Lana's lawyer. "She wants to meet privately," she said. I suspected another attempt at manipulation. I found Lana at Maple Creek Park, where Julia and I had first plotted our campaign. She looked diminished, thin, and wearing clothes that suggested the torrent of consequences had hit her bank account. "Jack, thank you for coming," she said. "What do you want?" I asked. "I want to apologize," she said. "Not the lawyer kind. I mean it. I understand what I did to you, and to the kids, and to our family. Okay, you are sorry. Is that it?" "I am scared," she added. "The board will likely revoke my license. I will never practice again. I have lost everything." She looked broken in a way that was not acting. I studied her for manipulation, but saw only regret. "You made choices," I said. "There are consequences." "I know," she said. "It started as excitement. It was supposed to be personal growth. But it was monstrous, and I destroyed everything." We sat in silence and watched joggers and dog walkers pass by, ordinary life ignorant of our wreckage. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you deal with the fallout," I said. "You find a new life, maybe a new career somewhere else where your name will not be poison. You try to rebuild with the children if they will let you. You learn to live with the consequences of your choices. And me. What happens to me?" I thought for a long moment. "The revenge is complete," I said. "You have lost career, reputation, and family. That may be justice, but it does not heal what is damaged inside me." She cried then and said she had loved me. Maybe she did once. Love without honesty and respect is not love. It is convenience and habit. I stood to leave and turned back. "Lana, I do not hate you," I said. "I am not even angry now. I am disappointed. You had everything. A career you loved, children who adored you, a husband who would do anything for you, and you threw it all away for something empty." She sobbed softly, and I walked away, leaving her on the bench to the afternoon sun. The divorce was finalized 2 weeks later. I kept the house, primary custody of the children, and most of the assets. Lana received a small settlement and supervised visitation that she seldom used. 6 months after the gala, I was helping Kira with college applications when she asked the question I dreaded. "Dad, will Mom ever be normal again?" "I do not know," I told her. "I hope so. I hope she finds a way to be happy without hurting people." "Will you ever marry again?" she asked. "Maybe, someday. But not until I can trust someone completely, and until you and Theo are ready." "If you are never ready," she said, I laughed, "then I will be a dedicated single father." Theo looked up from his game. "Dad, would you ever lie to us the way Mom did?" "Nobody," I promised. "If you ask me something important, you will get the truth, even if it hurts. Truth sucks sometimes, but lies make everything worse in the end." That evening after the kids were in bed, I reviewed the final legal documents on my desk. The files were closed. The revenge had been carried out. Justice had been served in the narrow sense. But as I looked around the house, where we had built birthdays and holidays, and the life I thought would last, I felt that the victory was hollow. I had destroyed those who betrayed me, but I could not rebuild the parts of myself that broke in the process. The scandal made me a minor celebrity. Reporters called occasionally. Speaking engagements and book offers arrived. A publisher offered a deal to tell the story. Fame built on ruin felt empty. I had won the battle and lost something essential. The ability to trust unguardedly, to love without reserve. Maybe that was the price of learning how cruel and complicated the world could be. Lana moved to another state to start over. Colin found work in pharmaceutical sales. Dr. Pike received a federal sentence for extortion and related charges. The children went to therapy and slowly learned to process their anger. Kira earned acceptance at several colleges and planned to study journalism. Theo joined the robotics club and talked about engineering. Life moved forward, carrying scars, but not the rawness of open wounds. I closed the drawer on the file with the last legal papers and went upstairs to check on my children, the 2 people who mattered most. They slept, safe in their beds, dreaming of futures not defined by their parents' failures. That was enough.